Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again. I'm your art marketing guy, Chris, and I'm joined by Chewbacca, right there. So, if you missed the last video, we've been talking about 3 big mistakes that artists make when marketing their art. In the last episode, we talked about the number one, which I feel is the number one big mistake, which is marketing to your friends and family, thinking that they're your ideal customer. So if you missed that one, make sure you go back and watch it. Really important stuff. In this episode, we're going to talk about part 2, which is not marketing to your ideal customer. So before we dive into it, I just want to ask, if you like what you're hearing, if you think I have good ideas, if you think I'm silly looking, no matter the reason really, if you'll do me a solid, hit the like button and share with a family, friend, somebody who you think I can help or will find benefit in what I'm saying. Thank you. Not marketing to your ideal audience. What does that mean? So as artists, we just like to create and put the creations out there for everyone to see, right? We want everyone to see it. We want everyone to like it, share it, react with it, have an emotion, a reaction to it, right? Well, that's great, and it's nice to have a bunch of people see your work. For most creatives and most artists and designers, right, we are providing a service, right? We want somebody to invest into our work. So whether it's sharing it, whether it's buying it, whether it's hanging it, promoting it, whatever the end goal is, most of us have a goal of some sort, right? So for everyone, it looks a little bit different. So if you're a photographer, right, you want somebody to buy your service. You want somebody to come to you and say, I love your photography. I think it's so great. I want to pay you for your services. For a fine artist, it might be having a gallery approach you and say, hey, we want to feature you in a show. So for a fashion designer, it may be, an expensive, boutique, right, on Collins Avenue in Miami or wherever, just somebody with a name approaching you and saying they want to utilize what you provide and what you create. For some people, it's even just having somebody to share your message, right? If it's an important thing, like maybe something about breast cancer awareness since it's October, right? While you may not be selling a specific service, you still have an end goal of having your message or your story promoted and shared. So, promoting to your ideal client just simply means promoting or marketing to the people who need to see your work or will find the most value in your work first, right? We often as creatives, we just create and we go to Instagram, we go to Facebook or whatever, and we just click share. We just, sometimes we'll put a quote with it, or we'll just say the name of the piece and we'll post it. Or we'll create an ad of some sort, right? If it's a discount on a photography service, and we'll click send, we'll hit go. While that's still part of like promoting and marketing your work, is just making those simple posts and clicking share, right? We need to, before we hit share, think about how our end, user, the person who we want to perceive value from this, is going to receive it, how they're going to find it, how they're going to be able to utilize it. Right, so let me give you an example. If you're a fine art painter and you create works that's based on, maybe mental illness or a specific struggle with a health issue, then you may want to promote or share your work to specific groups, Facebook groups, or, send in messages even to specific galleries that focus on that same theme, or even hospitals, or, people who are in the same community as you, or in the same culture as you, right? So promoting to your ideal client simply means just getting your work or your product, your service in front of the person who's going to use it. If you're a photographer and you're promoting wedding services, it doesn't make sense to necessarily promote your work to a hospital, right? Or to people who are looking at newborn photography, right? Because it's a different life cycle. For most people, it's a different life cycle. So, you don't necessarily benefit from somebody who's looking just for basic family photos or newborn photos, looking at your work if you're trying to sell wedding photos. If you're a fashion designer and you design sneakers, right? It doesn't benefit you for your sneakers to show up in line with lingerie. So marketing to your ideal customer just means keeping your product into the niche where it belongs. It's not a bad thing if it makes it outside of the niche, because you get those onesie, twosie people who see it and go, oh, by the way, I did need that. All right, so it does happen, but you get a better result when your work is placed in front of people who need it. All right, so how do we do that? Well, if you're on Instagram, it could be hashtags, right? If you're posting a boudoir session photo, you would use hashtags that correlate with that, so that when people are in need of your service and they search it, they can find it, right? Marketing is more active instead of, it's more active, it's more proactive. Whereas just like posting a normal Instagram photo with, no captions, no industry specific hashtags is just more like passive. It's just passive marketing, which isn't effective, right? So I've seen photographers who will just be like hashtag Instagram photo of the day. Well, that might be beneficial if you have tons of followers and you can rank in that hashtag. It's not industry specific, so really anybody could see it, but you want to narrow it down to the people who you need, right? So if you're posting wedding photos, wedding photographer. If you're in, say you're in Ohio, the state of Ohio, or the state of West Virginia, it might be hashtag West Virginia wedding photographer, right? So marketing to your ideal client is so important. If you're a ceramic and you make handmade pottery, using hashtags that correlate to your industry. Facebook. How many of us are promoting on Facebook? I mean, I know that when I first started, I would schedule my posts to just go up on Instagram and Facebook and wouldn't think nothing else of it. But you can dive deeper into that. You've got Facebook groups, you've got Facebook pages that are dedicated to your niche. You can find them out there. If you're a wedding photographer, if you're a ceramicist, if you're a sculptor, if you're a musician, a designer of any sort, right? And there's so many UI designers, there's web designers, there's graphic designers, there's fashion designers. So finding a group within your niche and not using these groups to spam yourself, but to like soft pitch and soft sell and soft promote your services, right? So you can make an occasional post about your product, or even better, you can engage within the people in that group so that they can become aware of your name and your brand, and then they actively find you because they'll research you and they'll look you up. So we've talked about hashtags, we talked about Facebook groups. What about blogs? What about websites? What about products that people use in your industry? Right, so if you're a spray paint artist and you do, paintings with spray paint, it may be beneficial for you to work up a partnership with a spray paint distributor to get your work promoted by them, right? It's marketing. Marketing to your ideal client. The biggest thing that we struggle with as artists is just being passive and just being to ourselves. We have a hard time of just going out of our way to want to connect with people. If you're struggling with knowing who your ideal audience is, sit down, find a piece of paper, and just ask yourself, who will benefit from my product the most? And just start writing a list down, and you'll notice a consistent theme every single time. But if you need further coaching on how to find your ideal audience and how to market to them, reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram, we're on YouTube, or you can just go to our site at SarahDesignStudio.com. So, thank you for tuning in for part 2 of 3 big mistakes that artists make when marketing their art, not focusing on their ideal client. So in the next episode, we're going to talk about part 3, which will be not marketing at all. I hope I see you next time.